Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Hello, everybody. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Hello, everybody online as well. Can you hear me? I hope so. So, great. So my name is Jan Saar. I'm the head of digital construction at the Estonian Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications. And it is a real pleasure to be here in person in front of you guys. It's a bit scary again to see so many people in one room again. But at the same time, it's very exciting. But I understand we also have people online, and welcome to this session. We're going to be talking about BIM implementation in various countries, and Estonia is the first one to go. So, just a quick introduction about Estonia, if you don't know it yet. Estonia is a small country located in the north of Europe. We're part of EU, NATO, etc. So construction makes up, or real estate and construction makes up about 16% of our GDP. IT sector is also very strong in Estonia and growing constantly. And if we talk about IT, then we also always like to emphasize that we are a digital society. And Wired magazine has called us the most advanced digital society in the world, because we have everything online. 99% of our state services are online. And here it's very appropriate to use this slide, because we have the Eiffel Tower as a comparison to how much paper we save each month thanks to digital identities, digital signatures. And most Estonians have probably forgotten how to write their signature by hand, because all you do is you just tap a few buttons on your phone or on your computer and you're done. And if we talk about construction, which is what this event is about, right? Then we also have a fully digital building permit process already since 2016, actually. And you know, this is what a building permit in Estonia looks like. It's a digital file with a digital signature, and inside there is just an automatically generated PDF. So once everything is uploaded to the system, it is reviewed by the local authorities, by different agencies, anybody that is related to the building process, and when everybody signs off, you get a building permit like that. And the system we have, the building registry service, is used by all municipalities in Estonia, so it is central. Mostly for buildings, also for infrastructure, but some constructions for roads are also handled by the transport administration. But we are working to bring them all together on one platform. And the building registry services are also part of the e-construction platform, which is kind of an umbrella system that we have developed to collect all services and data related to the built environment into one place. So it's just one click away, and you don't have to search in different systems. Okay, so that's a bit of a background. But what we are doing now is we are moving forward from just this, you know, digital PDF drawing paper-based process into something more advanced. And before I jump into the BIM-based building permits, I wanted to talk a little bit about killer apps. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this term. I hope many of you are. It's a killer app means a killer application. It is something that you can do on a device or a service that really brings so much value that everybody wants to use it. And it means that it's so popular that it becomes a reason, for example, for buying a computer. One of the first killer apps was VisiCalc, which was the first spreadsheet program ever developed. And here you see a picture of VisiCalc on an Apple II computer, one of the first ones that was released. Another killer app, if VisiCalc was the killer app to bring personal computers into the office, into the business, into everyday life, then once the computers were already there, with the Macintosh, Apple had the first graphical user interface computer, which was more widespread, of course. There were others, but what was one of the killer apps for a graphical user interface the one we are so familiar with today, like Windows, like Mac, like iPhone, anyone, any device is using a graphical user interface. You don't have no longer these command line interfaces. Desktop publishing was the killer app for that, because newspapers, magazines realized they can save a huge amount of time by doing things digitally. And for the first time with this graphical user interface, it was possible. So another killer app. This is a screenshot of one of the first internet browsers. Now, it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what was the first killer app for the internet. Was it either email that made you really want to use the internet, or I think it was more the web browser, or the HTML markup language, which was the technology behind websites and how to make them possible. So that's another killer app for the internet. Everybody wanted to go online. Then came the iPhone in 2007. And the killer app for the iPhone was actually the App Store, because that was the first time they developed an ecosystem where you could easily get third-party applications onto your phone. There's a lot of other good things about the iPhone as well, but the real killer app was the App Store. And I strongly believe that the killer app for BIM is going to be BIM-based building permits. Because the professional community has already gotten used to using BIM, and designers use it, engineers, construction guys. It's there, but a lot of people are still outside of this specialized field. And for example, in Estonia as well, this includes local authorities, municipalities, people who review building permits. They don't usually come into close contact with BIM. And I think this is the case in most countries. But we have started developing a BIM-based building permit system. We've just finished the first phase. We will start piloting with Estonia's capital city, Tallinn, hopefully in March already, to see how it works in real life, how people in the municipality, in different offices, react to having a BIM model there. And I have a short video here explaining how it works, how the process is done. And this was developed with the help of the European funds, of course. We had a Dutch company working together with an Estonian IT company developing this. And the process starts with the applicant. They have an application, a building permit they want to get. They have a model. And important to note here is, of course, the use of open standards, IFC model. They upload this IFC model to the building registry service, which is part of the construction platform, where it becomes available to do some checks on it. And we are applying many automated checks to this model. And this is done all before the application is submitted for review. The applicant can do this before they submit it. They can go over the checks, see if everything is okay, if the model is according to standards, etc. And here's now a screenshot or a screencast of the actual interface. It is embedded into the e-construction platform together with the building permit services. And of course, there's a viewer for the BIM model. And what you see around the central building is what we get from the digital twin. So we already have a national digital twin as well that we launched at the beginning of last year. And this is another really good example of how to integrate GIS data with BIM data and why you need to do that. Because otherwise, just looking at the building as a standalone without the surroundings, it doesn't make much sense. And for the municipalities, for the guys checking this, whether or not the building is suitable in that position, it's really important to have, the surrounding buildings, surrounding roads, etc., all of that connected. And now here is really the killer app, which is the automated checks. So we've developed, for start, we've developed about 50, 60 different checks. But this is just a start. Because we are now going to pilot, we're going to test it very much in real life to see which kind of checks we need to really do and which are bringing the most value. And for example, here is a check of to see if all apartments have an entrance, exit entrance to a public space, because you don't want to walk into another guy's apartment through your apartment. And this can all be done automatically by using IFC zones and other IFC elements, but we also are applying more advanced checks here. We are also doing algorithm-based checks. We have kind of a little bot or a voxel system that analyzes geometry of the model and checks whether or not, for example, you can fall off somewhere, which you saw in the last example. Or this one, for example, the evacuation route. Is it, according to standard, is it short enough that everybody can get out when there is a fire? The minimum is, in many cases in Estonia, is, or the maximum is 30 meters. And this check is seeing whether in every point of the room in the building you can evacuate in 30 meters. And it takes into account also fire doors and fire zones, etc. And you can export these results, of course, directly to BCF, so that in the design process, everybody can already get the results into their design applications, etc., and use them like that. So that was a quick overview of the BIM-based building permit service. But none of this would be possible if we don't use standards. So that was kind of the exciting part. You get, you know, the nice visuals, you get the nice model, 3D stuff. That's cool, right? That's like Hollywood BIM. But that wouldn't be possible if we don't look at maybe the more, not the sexiest topic, which is standards. But we need them for that to work. Otherwise, it's going to be so complicated and it's going to be impossible to get it to scale up. And when we talk about standards, I would like to emphasize, of course, IFC. We are using open standards. We avoid as much as possible any kind of proprietary standards software because we are a government agency for one. But that's not the only reason, because I think open standards are really the way of the future, where we should go. And another standard is CCI, Construction Classification System. And I just put a picture of a Lego as a very well-known standard that we all know from already a young age, which you can use to connect bricks and make, you know, fantastic things. And this is what also happens with standards. But a little bit more about the CCI, Construction Classification International. This is an international endeavor that we started in 2018 because in Estonia we needed a classification system for the construction industry that brings together both buildings and infrastructure. We didn't want to invent a new one because I think there's plenty of classification systems in the world and we really don't need any new ones. So we started looking for a suitable one that we could use and adopt. And when we started doing that, we realized we had a lot of partners. A lot of countries are in the same position as we are. We came across our Czech colleagues who had already started the same project, already done some surveys. In Lithuania, in Finland actually as well, we started discussion. And through this kind of grassroots, ground-up approach, we ended up with adopting a system from Denmark, which was previously known as CCS. And now together with the Danes, we've developed this into the CCI, Construction Classification International System. And it is based on standards ISO 12006, 81346 tables, but the bulk of it is coming from these standards, and it has already been used for years in Denmark. It's also used actually in Sweden under the name of CoClass because it has the same core, and we did a lot of collaboration also with our Swedish partners. But where we are now, we established a non-profit entity in Brussels for the reason to keep this classification system open, so that it would always be free, it would always be collaborative, and all participants, all partners in this Construction Classification International collaboration entity are equal owners. They share responsibility, they share the IP, and we want to keep it free. There's no money held or transacted, and everybody can go online, cci-collaboration.org, download the classification system, use it, submit an application to join our collaboration and work together with all the countries listed here. So official members include the Czechs, Estonia, Poland, Slovakia, but of course we have Denmark, we have Lithuania, we have Sweden, we have Finland, all part of the technical committee as well. And here is a quick kind of snapshot of how the management model looks like. The international entity which manages the CCI core is at the center. So everybody is using the same core, but it's possible to extend that with national extensions. For example, in Estonia we have CCI-EE, and this means we are using CCI, but we've also added to that, according to pre-agreed rules, extensions of the classification system that we need in Estonia, that maybe some large procurers clients in Estonia need. And this is, makes it very flexible. So you have the core, you have the agreement on how to extend it, and you work together with everybody else. For example, in Denmark, Molio is the company responsible for managing the classification system. In Sweden, it's Swedish Building Services under the name of CoClass, of course. In Czechia, it's the Czech Standards Agency. And all of them are doing this work in their countries. And of course, you can always have new markets, new entities. But before I wrap up, I would like to say that implementation is the hardest part, because we are, it's easy to develop a classification system actually. It's not that hard. You get a couple of bright minds, they work together, you put them into a room, they go through the data, they analyze it, and they come up with a system. And it might be the best system in the world, but without implementation, without actually getting it to companies, to pilot, to start using it, to build their processes on that system, it will go nowhere. So that's where our effort is now going into the implementation of CCI. We are doing it on the government side. We are starting pilot projects with the largest public clients in Estonia. For example, the road administration, the port of Tallinn, the city of Tallinn, etc. So this is really important to work together. And this brings me to my last slide, which is all about collaboration. And we need to work together, both the private and public sector, especially on these kinds of new technologies where standards play an important role. It's tough, I admit it. It's not easy because it's so much easier to look at things only from your point of view and think, well, I just need this part, or I just need a different system. I don't need all of that. I'll just use what I've been using already, or I'll develop something specifically for me. And but this will not advance the industry forward as much as we need it to. And especially from, coming from Estonia, a small country, it doesn't make sense for us to develop anything very proprietary, specific to Estonia. And this BIM-based building permit service, this is all mostly open source code. Some specific parts of it are, of course, we have to use certain commercial products, but the building registry, the e-construction platform, all of that is actually public open code. And I hope others can learn from that and use it. And when we talk about collaboration with the industry, then we have a very good partner in Estonia, which is the Digital Construction Cluster. And this would be a great point to hand over now for the next presenter from the Digital Construction Cluster. So I thank you for the attention. And if you have any questions, just look me up online. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation, Jan. I have a lot of questions for you. I don't know, but I think we are already late on the so what I suggest is to go directly to your presentation, Hugo, and then to have any question further that, to take time to have some question after your presentation. You hear me, Yannick?
Yes.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Can we proceed with that and to come back to any question after the second presentation?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Let them come. Yeah, and
Okay, is it okay online? It was clear, the voice was okay?
Yeah, everything is okay.
It was working, so the first... Thank you very much.
yeah, I would hand this over. Shall I proceed with this presentation, or can you take mine?
Okay, so...
My name was there. No. No. There is my name is... Okay, as we are looking for my presentation slides, but so far not successfully. Yeah, but can we do like this? Vaiko will email my presentation slides to specified by you address. Would you please? We can email the presentation, but... Yeah, this is a good idea. Who will be the third one? Yes. Yes.
Jilka, are you online? Yannick?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Est-ce que Jilka il est en ligne là? La troisième présentation, c'est...
Jitka.
La troisième présentation, c'est Nordic Level Crossing Storyline. From Sweden. It's a common presentation from Finland and it's Marion normally. Marion, are you online?
Yes, now I'm online.
Yes, so are you able to start your presentation right now?
We have the recorded video.
Okay, so...
I think, according to the program, we have a presentation from Denmark, the Danish Road Directorate.
On n'a pas la vidéo sur l'écran là.
BIM test projects as an enabler for digital.
And that might be right.
So stop.
So 10.
So thank you. So we have to stop. So on peut avoir la vidéo sur le. So we need to have your screen on. Can you share your screen, Marion? With your presentation.
Marion is not here.
And it's supposed to be different presentation, which should be right now.
I think, according to the program and the link we have adjusted, Joachim Lockert and Rasmus Fuglsang have now the BIM test projects as an enabler for digital transformation. And are we in the right
It's
link?
a video. Okay, how you want to proceed?
Proceed with the Danish presentation.
Okay, we can. Who is the Danish presentation? Danish presentation is the.
BIM test projects as an enabler for digital transformation.
Okay, Rasmus.
Yes.
Okay, so sorry for the trouble. Can you? Sorry.
Let's just see. Yeah, you can see and hear us here and the presentation as well.
It's okay online.
Yes, we got it. It's coming. So no, we have your presentation online on the screen. So if you are able to start, it could be very great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I'm Rasmus Fuglsang from the Danish Road Directorate, and here today I have...
How do you do? Joachim Loggert from Bane Denmark, which is the national Danish rail agency.
And we are here today to present this BIM test project as an enabler for digital transformation. We represent the two big client organizations that have a collaboration about this, and the thoughts that we have been working with, we want to present them here today. First of all, we want to address this BIM maturity steps, which has been a part of our strategy and the way we see it going from analog to being super digital. In the beginning, we started with an industry dialogue to see how we could proceed the best way and how we could work together. It was an informal development, but it led us into the establishment of this BIM Infra that we represent here today, where the Danish Road Directorate and Bane Denmark together formed a strategy for how to work with CAD BIM, as we call it here. But right now we have created this BIM foundation that we're working upon, and we are facing to stepping into this what we call real BIM, object-oriented BIM with open formats and so on. So to be able to do that, we have looked in the industry, and we can see that we are several big client organizations. So we have expanded our collaboration as well. We see that the client organization is essential for making this work. We have many new stakeholders when we go into this BIM level 3 discussions, and we can see that it's quite difficult for us. That's also why there are question marks here when we reach the full implementation of BIM level 3, because it's quite difficult to define. So we want to use test projects and projects to help us define the level and do tests based on this. So first of all, as we mentioned, the Danish Road Directorate and Bane Denmark has the roads, national roads and national railways, but there are several big client organizations here in Denmark as well, which also have a big interest in this BIM topic. And by joining forces and working together, this is much more easier for us. So we have gotten company from the municipality of Copenhagen as well, which have roads. We have the Copenhagen Metro, which have the underground metro systems as well. And we have Sonarbelt, which are having a couple of big bridges and a tunnel among the Femern Link tunnel to Germany as well. So by joining forces, we are trying to create a unified approach to this BIM topic and to discuss among each other. What we have done is that we have set a strategic concept for our collaboration. We can see that BIM is a good way to work with these things. There are a lot of benefits in that, so we want to use BIM. That's the ambition going forward. The purpose of this is that we see the important role as us as clients to set an agenda and to implement it in our projects. So we want to use this client-driven BIM transformation, and that goes back to the BIM maturity again. We see some steps we have to go through to become better at this and to have a full implementation. So we want to use our role as client to inflect that and to inspire the industry both to develop with us and into the industry standardization. So the objectives in this strategy is 4 objectives going from actually one side to the other, but of course with a set of loops. But first we in the group have to discuss the strategic direction. We have to use the test projects to develop the BIM concepts and move on. And then we will want to qualify the results with the industry, making sure that everybody can follow them, and then go into a joint implementation. And Joachim, you will go through some of the objectives.
Thank you, Rasmus. Yes, so how do we actually work with synthesizing and planning our developmental work in the industry through BIM collaboration? Well, it starts with this objective one, which is on the basis of our ambition and purpose in the context of public agency in the infrastructure client role. Our task is here to set the strategic direction for our Danish infrastructure industry with regard to BIM, with a broad representation through the group of agencies, as well as professional associations, what we call stakeholders in this context, from the market, who are integrated stakeholders and have the following scope of assignment under this objective, which is to oversee the strategic coordination, to support dialogue with other sectors, to seek, of course, international inspiration, much like we are doing today, and to also coordinate with our Nordic friends in the Nordic markets. So really, as we get to objective 2, which is our development and maturation through infrastructure projects, this is the actual basis for BIM projects as we see it, and it's built on the principles of BIM execution planning and BIM uses. And the first order of business, so to say, was to be able to standardize our procurement methods by providing a systematic approach to assessing the value and benefit of specific BIM uses on specific projects. So by this, the foundation for design contract management, BIM management, and related disciplines have a toolbox to apply practical BIM use and assess the outcomes of an initiative beforehand. And as we get to objective 3, also a very pivotal and important part is how we qualify the result of our undertakings in the industry at large. So most of our communication at this point goes from within our collaboration to the industry to seek formalized input to the messages we disseminate. So the purpose, of course, is to continuously qualify and optimize the concept behind this. And this really, the joint BIM implementation is the end goal. We are pursuing in the client collaboration here as public infrastructure clients and stakeholders a uniform approach to planning and tendering and procuring services in the same way within the client cooperation. So through this collaboration, it has to be, of course, agreed with the industry stakeholders as mentioned, and this, of course, very much into common enforcement and use of applicable and relevant standards that affect our work in the infrastructure. So with these words, I shall pass it back to Lasse.
Yeah, thank you, Joachim. Just to try to give you some examples, we have already done a few test projects following this scope. And the first one here is just a detailed bridge design in an earlier phase. See if we can minimize risk and how that can be used further on and address the industry with new plans for that. We have reality modeling and also artificial intelligence to put into these models to do inspections as well. We have had a detailed design reality model.
Rasmus, maybe disconnect your camera because the connection is very poor and we are losing your voice. Okay.
I think we have an echo from the site, from Lyon.
Keep your...
If you can turn off your mics during the presentation. We have an echo.
I have disconnected the camera now, I think.
It's better, much more better. Thank you very much.
Very good, yeah, no problem. But yeah, back to the test examples here. Reality modeling again combined with the design models to see what benefits this give, even on smaller projects as this one. We have a bridge that has to be demolished to make room for a new one, and again we have done the reality modeling here, giving an overview for the participant, having this model available for the tender period as well, combining drawings and so on. And finally here we have a project using 4D and 5D, and my colleague Søren will give you an introduction to that in just a moment. But this is also to show you that we want to use this BIM test projects, as we mentioned in the beginning, to see how do we define BIM level 3. It's very difficult to do that in advance, 5 years out at a timeline. So we want to use the projects, we want to have ongoing development and build upon this good practice as we have here. So we want to have enactment through these project activities, and then creating the good practice as this digital transformation, and having that into the BIM preconditions for further projects, and use the test projects as this enabler for the digital transformation. Yeah, so that was a short overview from Joachim and I. Thank you for listening, and maybe there will be time for a discussion later at the roundtable discussion.
Yes, yes, it's a good idea. Thank you very much. I am speaking very frankly, that I was thinking that your presentation has a real added value. And my idea will be, I suggest that to Jan, is maybe to have some kind of presentation like that to the European BIM Task Group. I think that the added value, if you compare the presentation of Jan and this one, okay, you are going to rediscuss that this afternoon. That's a good idea. We're already late in the time schedule, so I suggest to move on the next presentation. But really, I think that is something to reuse later on in Building Smart, but also in the BIM European BIM Task Group. Maybe we can come back to Estonian case. We are load the presentation on site and take care with the time because we are already late, and we need to have the team, technical team, fully available for this afternoon.
Thank you, Christoph. Okay, back to Estonia again. Jan's last slide was just the same as mine first. This is how we really partner in development of the Estonian construction industry and construction area. My name is Tiit Hiian, and I'm the board member of the Digital Construction Cluster that was mentioned already. But for the first, I would like to share with you something that really touched me once. This is snatched from a presentation by Renee Smith, who is CEO of a Human Workplace, Washington State, USA. And what she showed us then. She was working in a Department of Enterprise Services, Washington State, and its director, Chris Liu, was once asked, what is the most important job for the leader to eliminate fear from the workplace? Let's put it aside, but unfortunately we have to come back to the fear later. My own background is I'm a land surveyor by profession, but at the last year my time is dedicated to a kind of startup initiative called 3DI, and this is might be an example from a business model shift from an ordinary surveying company to a data company. A bit about the construction area, about the context. There are 4 governing ministries over the construction area in Estonia. There are multiple professional organizations representing different stakeholders at the construction value chain, but there is one organization that is connecting the construction value chain, the different stakeholders there. And this is Estonian Digital Construction Cluster. What is the cluster? This is again a common initiative of different private companies through all the construction value chain, but we have also influential governmental companies or government-owned companies, and we have universities giving academic approach to our activities. Why the cluster was once founded. Because the companies joined found that besides innovation, there is no good opportunities, or at least good opportunities to improve productivity that is low in construction sector everywhere, to mitigate the shortage of labor force, and to find new markets, to find new business models, to stay alive, to see the future at all. How the cluster operates. Of course, if you want to change something, if you want to do something, first you have to learn. And this learning we're all the time on the study trips, on conferences like at the moment, seminars, trainings. Very important is to get on the same page all the companies over the value chain. We are looking for common understanding. That means we have a lot of discuss, to dispute, and so on. And of course, to run all kinds of digital applications, we have a common digital environment. Jan was talking about this. And again, we have to participate this. We cannot give it only the government does. We have to put our part in there. Where we have gained success, we really do have accomplishments. We have created or agreed several common templates of data sets. We have gone through value stream mapping all over the value chain, where the different stakeholders of the value chain were sitting in the same room and discussing what could be the concerns and problems of the other stakeholders. We didn't have a clue before that. Now we have. And as mentioned, regular cooperation with government authorities or governmental agencies. That means we have real influence on regulations and on policies that are created in Estonia. This is very important, and we very much appreciate that. But this gives us also obligations we have to do to proceed. But there are not only accomplishments. While getting digitalization and innovation, we found quite serious challenges. So far, we have not improved much in the culture of the sector, how we behave there, what do we value. The image of the sector is not improved much. We have, unfortunately, bad habits, how we really do our job in the projects. There is, so far, lack of trust and transparency and respect to other partners in the projects. And unfortunately, we have quite often poor understanding what is the real goal of the project, what is the meaning of it. And unfortunately, it is on the level of governing, procuring authorities, the customer itself. Yeah, back to the fair. I recently experienced in Estonia a situation where quite a big infra project where all kinds of modern data acquisition, processing and delivering methods like laser scanning, like drone photogrammetry, that in each presentation here we saw something. They are implemented, but the authority, the contracting authority, does not use this data despite this is available. And the worse, general contractor of this project, or contractors even in different projects, are frightened. They are afraid. They are, of course, not afraid of the data that is highly detailed, highly visible, but they are afraid what kind of things may be done against them in the project, even by the authority of contracting authority. And this is a problem. I'm aware that Jan will take obstacles in the closing plenary, obstacles of digitalization. I think this is one, a serious one. But not to finish in negative tones, at least we in Estonia are happy because we do have a plan. And I think this is the major accomplishment we have done together with governmental agencies. It was a huge work of I don't know how many entities, private entities, governmental agencies, professional organizations, but we have done it. This is a long-term view on construction 2035, and all these problems, by the way, we have solutions there. And as we have solutions, we have belief that we will see nice future. Mesdames et messieurs, c'est tout de ma part.
Merci. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tourism. The first one, you are absolutely in time. It's a good news. First of all, there is very key information on your presentation, and just to underline that, I mean, we can say that at the moment there is no so much technical obstacle to deploy the beam that we can say that it's working. It's more on some issue. Maybe I'm going to say the first one out of recall. The informal works on the construction industry in Europe is one of the problems. Informal works, because with transparency, you cannot have big works and informal in digital twin and informal works. It's one of the problems. A second problem is the question of the contractual culture, and you are speaking about that, the dispute. I have the experience to introduce BIM commonly in a PPP contract with the contractor. Technically, it was working perfectly. The problem was coming from the project management, because if there is any agreement about the status and the content of the digital twin, we have the problem in case of claim. And that is something, that means that the handover is arriving earlier on the step with the digital twin. Because if we agree on the share space, as I refer to ISO 19750, we agreed commonly between the client, the designer, and the contractor about the status of the digital twin, there is no more claim. Or the claim is starting very early. That changed a lot in terms of early warning management. I think that, not to be too long, but I think that you are really speaking about the core of the problem.
Yes, and I heard happily yesterday presentations, of course, by Finns, that they are doing a huge job there, and they have been very successful. We hope to catch them up sometimes, but it has a lot of work to do.
I think one of the things to already discuss this afternoon, maybe. Yannick, if you have one question, yes, please. One question, and then we are going to move.
We don't have any question online.
Okay. So maybe we can move on. And just before going to use the opportunity to come back to Jan's presentation, that I think that one of the key elements we are speaking was the question to use the IFC for the building application. My question is, are you already investigate about the impact of IFC 4.3 about that? Because what we have seen in France about the building application, that IFC alone, IFC4 alone, was not enough for the permit application. We need to merge with CTGML and so on to do that. And so my question is, IFC 4.3, we are going to mix, to combine the information regarding the building and regarding the infrastructure. We are speaking about the fire protection. And fire protection is not only in the building. We need to have the access from the fire system from the external to that. And because now with the S3 is showing that we can use ISO 4.3 to go directly in the GIS system, my question is the following one. Do you already investigate on that to have a more complete approach, a full approach of the building application?
Well, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of new technology that will help us, that will improve this process, make it more complete. But at the moment, we are starting with smaller steps. We are starting with the basics. First of all, this is the first time a lot of municipality people the first time ever they're going to start using a BIM model at all. And part of it is already the visualization, the ease of use, so they can do it in a browser, in a already environment that's familiar to them, and we start doing simple checks. We start doing easy checks, so they see the value and they become hooked on it. And then we expand on that. The solution we've developed is really kind of like a minimum viable product, so that we have something easy to start with, something quick we can work with, we can put it out there into the, so to speak, nature, and see how it reacts and how it is perceived and how it is implemented. And from there, we take it then step by step further. We build more rules, we do more checks, we incorporate more automation, and as you said, IFC 4.3, more integration of CDGML with IFC, etc. And yeah, that's definitely the future. But for now, we don't want to wait for, and we don't want to apply the latest technology.
Thank you very much. And this question is not to say anything or to postpone. Huh? It's just to, to break the obstacle to go further. And I think with the IFC 4.3 delivery, we are offering some new solution. And software vendors too. That is what also the issue. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much, Jan. Now the next presentation, I'm speaking with Peter and Marion. I don't know who is available to start his presentation. Normally, it's the Marion and I don't know.
So
yes,
Peter is here and Jitka. It's a pre-recorded video by Marion and Jitka, but Marion is sharing another session. So
okay, so Peter, you are going to manage that?
I will ask together with Jitka, answer any questions if they arise, but it's a pre-recorded video.
Okay, I don't.
But it's not our turn yet. It's Søren Krabbe who has a presentation before us, the 4D and 5D. There is one more presentation. Okay, sorry. And he is online waiting with his camera turned on.
So Yannick, can you say to me who is ready? Who is ready to because we make trouble in the presentation. Who can be ready to make his presentation right now?
Actually, Søren is ready. I think the next one is project and the requirements for object structure classification and 4D and 5D.
Yes, I'm ready.
So who is speaking?
This is Søren Krabbe from Denmark, Danish Road Directorate.
Okay, yes, this one. Danish, okay, so 1 minute. So are you able to display your presentation?
Yes.
Yes?
I'm sharing right now.
Yes.
Yeah. I can see it online.
It's good. And please say if I have to turn off my camera.
We can try. If it's too much, I will say to you to disconnect it. But until now, we can maintain the camera.
All right.
We have your presentation.
And I'll start.
It's going to work. Yes, it's working. So you can start your presentation.
Yes, thank you for letting me speak here on the InfoBim Open.
And take care with the time already, because we are already...
Yes, okay. I will shorten it as...
No, not short, but take care of the time. Thank you. Let's go.
I'll do that. Thank you. All right, thank you for letting me speak here on the InfoBim Open in Lyon. I'm sorry I couldn't be there because of Corona. My name is Søren Krabbe, and I come from Denmark. I work for the Danish Road Directorate. And the Danish Road Directorate is responsible of planning, constructing and operating the main roads in Denmark. it's not a lot of roads in a small country, but it's the main traffic that we operate on these roads that you can see here on the map. And just to continue from Joachim and Rasmus' presentation, I will try to go on with telling you about a little, well, a large-scale BIM project that we have been working on to educate ourselves in handling BIM as a project owner. And the project was about 3D modeling, object breakdown structure, and classification, and 4D for time, and 5D for economy. And for us as a project owner, we're not all of us specialists in designing and have a lot of knowledge about BIM. And just when you start operating your BIM as a project owner, you have to get some knowledge about, for example, the road starts when you go from 2D to 3D. So if you see here on the picture, it's a designed brake line road with no surfaces, and just going from the picture on the right side, it's a big step up from in that BIM ladder Rasmus and Joachim also talked about. And the way we used to design is in 2D also for equipment. As you see here, it's a typical safety barrier or guardrail project, and then the bottom left there's just a 2D line that could traditionally be a noise barrier. Just lifting them up to 3D, it's a huge thing, and you can use this information for all kinds of stuff. Like we've developed BIM users that we need to implement in our organization, and BIM uses like quantity takeouts, how to automate drone productions, do class detections, and 3D coordinations, and this 4D and 5D. But if you want to be good at 3D, you also need to know what kind of 3D you want to order from your consultants. For example, here we have a lamppost, but this lamppost is also defined with a list of quantity, and you need to know how to break this element up into different pieces in your object breakdown structure, also to get the right quantities out of the object. And also we have worked a lot with classification, and we have used like a Danish developed classification called Construction Classification International. It's also known in other countries, in the Nordic and other countries in Europe, Estonia, for example. And what we have tried to develop is a classification for the road and for the equipment, and the classification is mostly 3 letters with some numbers, and it has a code, as you can see here on the right. Okay. And also we have worked a lot. How can we use 3D models with classification and like bonding that together? And here we have a BIM system, and we have tried to make a simple timetable for a project. And when we have all of our information in our 3D model with quantity, we have a classification system, and we have the prices. We can link all of this together, and so here we've tried to make an example of as a 3D model, and you see I'm running the 4D model here, And if you have the unit prices, you can just multiply them with the quantities in the model. And all the quantities that have been hooked up to the task in the timetable. So now we have like a 4D model has been played here, and like a 5D model for our budgeted cost. So all of this is like is the foundation for the Danish Road Directorate. If we can do this, and we know how BIM works, how we can put data together, we believe that we can go much stronger in the collaboration with our consultants and our contractors. But we have to focus on that. We have to put some solid BIM requirements in our tender projects, and we as a project owner need to know how to use data and how to reuse data. And we need to know what kind of operation, what kind of data do we need for operation and maintenance. And we also need to know about all the different kind of formats and what kind of potential they have, especially IFC. That will actually be the next step for us. We can see there's a very, very big potential in IFC, like sharing data and taking out quantities and so on. And of course, as an organization, we would like to be more independent of a consultant telling us what to do. We would like to know what kind of demands we have to put in our tenders when it comes to BIM. And actually, that was all I wanted to say, Christoph. Hello?
Yes?
Yes, that was actually all from me.
So thank you very much. No, I was busy about the next presentation. So, okay, is there any question here on the room here about you or about But in any case, we come back with a shorter presentation this afternoon on the closing session. You will be there. Okay. So if there is. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I was a little bit troubled by the technical issue. Thank you very much. Again, we insist for this presentation, and that's the reason we re-inject this presentation this morning to prepare the closing session. So thank you so much. We can now move on the movie prepared by Marion and for the Swedish corner. So we are going to share the video on the screen.
Hello and welcome to the IFC Rail Nordic storyline, level crossing detailed design. I am Marion Schenkman and hello and welcome to the IFC Rail Nordic storyline, level crossing detailed design. Hello and welcome to the IFC Rail Nordic storyline, level crossing detailed design. I am Marion Schenkman. Hello and welcome Hello and welcome to the IFC Rail Nordic Storyline, Level Crossing Detailed Design. I am Marion Schenkman and Hello and welcome to the IFC Rail Nordic Storyline, Level Crossing Detailed Design. I am Marion Schenkman. We can do the live presentation, a quick one instead. Hello and welcome to the IFC Rail Nordic Storyline, Level Crossing Detailed Design. I am Marion Schenkman and I'm an Infrabeam expert at the Finnish Transport Infrastructure Agency, FTIA. This storyline...
Combien de temps là aussi, parce que on est bloqué là pour l'instant, donc on essaie de régler le... We try to solve the sound, the question of the voice on the movie. Just verify, Yannick, that the two other presentations, the people are already online. It's Mario and Marine. The presentation from DigiPlace and the presentation from GaiaX. Oui, je t'entends pas.
And welcome.
Ok, oui, mais ouais, je t'entends, Yannick. Parle-moi en français là parce que ça me stresse. La suite, c'est la vidéo, effectivement. Ensuite, DigiPlace et ensuite, c'est GaiaX. Donc, on prend une minute pour régler. Ok, ça va. La vidéo démarre. On y va.
Hello and welcome to the IFC Rail Nordic Storyline, Level Crossing Detailed Design. I am Marion Schenkman and I'm an Infrabeam expert at the Finnish Transport Infrastructure Agency, FTIA. This storyline was a joint effort of FTIA and the Swedish Transport Administration. At this IFC Rail Nordic Storyline Level Crossing Detailed Design, we had several stakeholders, representatives. From the FTIA side, me, Marian Schenkman, I was the test leader, and Riitta Juutilainen from Speco was assisting me with the numerous tasks of the storyline work. From Trafikverket, there was Jitka Hotovkova, who began as a test leader, but since she moved to Speco, Peter Axelsson was the one replacing her. As technical experts, we had Lars Wikström from the IFC Rail Technical Services and Juha Hyvärinen of IFC Infra Technical Services. The software vendors that were participating in this storyline were 12D Solutions, Akka, Bentley, Dassault Systems, RDF, and Trimble Vianova, with the active participants actually being Akka and Dassault. For our IFC Rail storyline, we chose the Toivola level crossing project. It is located in central Finland, and until 2020, when it was improved, it was one of the most dangerous ones in Finland because of the quite unfavorable crossing angle of the road, as you can see here, the original road. Like nearly all of the FTIA infrastructure projects, also this one was designed and built with OpenBIM. The dataset and documentation came from FTIA, and the dataset includes, for example, geometries in Inframodel 4, which is the Finnish extension to LandXML. Then we had surface models, we had signaling objects, and cabins, boom barriers, axle counters, signals, cabling, and also snowplow protection, and so on. And also data that was included in this project, but not included actually in this storyline work, were also drainage and road data. So our findings regarding the dataset. We quite clearly see that the dataset must be really well compiled and comprehensively documented. This is very important that the software vendors, when they begin their work, they can have a very easy start to the project and know what they are dealing with. We had as the starting point a real-life project according to the FTI InfraBIM guidelines. So we had the data structure, meaning folders and files, and we had the defined exchange formats, and we had the documentation. But even though there was this FTIA guidelines in the background, we noticed that this work wasn't completely done according to these guidelines. So the dataset, the original dataset, was really big. It had a lot of files and documents and information that we actually didn't need for this storyline work. So the first job was to extract only the relevant contents for the storyline work. After that, we of course had to translate all of the documents and files, because we were pretty sure that nobody would be able to understand the Finnish file names and documentation. So this was quite time-consuming. We had numerous meetings and interviews with the experts, for example, regarding the signaling systems and so on. We had to be able to understand really what the substance is in order to also document it properly and translate it. So here's a glimpse to some of the data that we had in this storyline. And for example, safety and signaling systems, and we had, for example, cable plans, element lists, sequence tables, and so on and so forth. Okay, and now I'll hand over to Jitka.
Thank you, Marion, for the great introduction of the Nordic storyline. And let's continue this presentation. As a stakeholder in the IFC Rail project and the level crossing storyline, we see this work as one of the cornerstones of a standardized and machine-readable information exchange process.
Some of the main subjects addressed in these works are IFC as a tool to enrich railway asset data over its life cycle to equally serve the needs of design, construction, maintenance and asset management. IFC spatial structure breakdown to describe the complex entities of different domains of level crossing. IFC as an enabler for machine-readable requirement management. IFC as a prerequisite for M2M management of asset information. IFC as an enabler to increase international competition when we can require information in a standardized form. And last not least, reduced cost for asset information management in a life cycle perspective. This storyline actually combines both rail and road, which is important for us as a stakeholders with responsibility for both road and rail infrastructure. The result has proven that IFC 4.3 will be able to model, store, and exchange the necessary information needed for the design, build, and maintain phase for the physical or built aspect of the infrastructure assets. One of the fundamental parts for rail design is the alignment, which also have been used in this storyline and proved to work. This is important for our internal acceptance of a new method of data delivery. The new release of IFC 4.3 will be one of the most important enablers in the digital transition for the infra industry. For us as a stakeholder, for national Thank you, Marion, for the great introduction of the Nordic storyline. And let's continue this presentation. As a stakeholder in the IFC Rail project and the level crossing storyline, we see this work as one of the cornerstones of a standardized and machine-readable information exchange process. Some of the main subjects addressed in these works are IFC as a tool to enrich railway asset data over its life cycle to equally serve the needs of design, construction, maintenance, and asset management. IFC spatial structure breakdown to describe the complex entities of different domains of level crossing. IFC as an enabler for machine-readable requirement management. IFC as a prerequisite for M2M management of asset information. IFC as an enabler to increase international competition when we can require information in a standardized form. And last not least, reduced cost for asset information management in a life cycle perspective. This storyline actually combines both rail and road, which is important for us as a stakeholders with responsibility for both road and rail infrastructure. The result has proven that IFC 4.3 will be able to model, store, and exchange the necessary information needed for the design, build, and maintain phase for the physical or built aspect of the infrastructure assets. One of the fundamental parts for rail design is the alignment, which also have been used in this storyline and proved to work. This is important for our internal acceptance of a new method of data delivery. The new release of IFC 4.3 will be one of the most important enablers in the digital transition for the infra industry. For us as stakeholders for national infrastructure, this transition will not be able unless we have standards in place. With several thousands of projects ranging from smaller modification to large mega projects, we need to rely on standards both for our data deliveries and verifications, but also for requirement management. So that way we can go from drawings, document, and proprietary formats to models, databases, and open standards. And this, of course, thanks to IFC 4.3. So let's go to challenges and obstacles. Yeah, the startup time was longer than expected. Much of the work was done during the last period of the projects. The data sets were critical and complicated to compile. Without data sets, the software companies are difficult to involve. It was kind of hard to involve the big software companies. We found it easier, or that most of the work were done by the smaller companies. It was also quite difficult limiting the scope. It was hard to find the scope so it wouldn't be too small, but at the same time that it wouldn't be too big. Several storylines in parallel were going on and with the same participating companies. And let's proceed to the learnings and insights. Yeah, so what was it? Well, the participating software companies found that working with storylines gave good support for their internal implementation of IFC 4.3. More insights in IFC and continued work for stakeholders to feel assured that we can use IFC in our information management process are actually following. What do we need to prepare before acquiring IFC 4.3 in our tenders? In what form can we require IFC? Is it MVDs or something similar to that? What can we expect in an IFC delivery? What needs do we need to develop to receive and extract information and data from IFC file? And how should we handle internal properties and classification system? And with that said, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And I am looking forward to discuss this topic with you.
Thank you, Ray, very much. What I can suggest for your presentation, Peter, you're online? Yeah, so what I suggest, because we are very, very late, and I like very much your presentation, and sincerely, the conclusion, I think that it would be very interesting to repeat that during the closing session, because it's really what we want to explain to the client and public client about the impact on the procurement, about what is the impact of IFC 4.3 in the procurement. I think that really is something absolutely crucial to succeed in the deployment of ISO 4.3. And of course, because I was involved in that, I'm really supporting your presentation. I don't know if there is any question online, but because we are very, very late already, I suggest, if there is no very emergent question, to move on the presentation from Marco on DigiPlace. We are changing the topic. We're going to speak with the two next presentation about the European project about the cloud computing and public and common platform for common data environment. So Mario, it's Marco. So are you able to display your presentation? Claudio, yes, Claudio, sorry, I'm saying Marco, it's Claudio. Claudio, if you are sorry, I was a little bit disturbed, so please share your screen with your presentation. And I say to you when you have to start. Except if you want to use the time before the presentation to introduce yourself, maybe we can do that. So introduce yourself, and then we come back to your presentation, what will be on the screen. So your mic is not, Claudio. Your voice is very poor. If you are if you are able to speak closer to your mic, it could be better. So we have your presentation. So start again, please, Claudio. Yes, Claudio. Yeah. Ça, il y a un écho là.
DigiPlace, that is this reference.
Yes, move on. Yes.
So DigiPlace has been concluded last year, so in May of the last year, and that's been, I would say, successfully concluded because the feedback that we had from the co-authors what you can see here is the composition of the project in terms of parties and what is the objective that we have in the project. So as you can see, I have to say that there will be different rounds around the people that needs to have in the digital projects and dissemination. First, the main representatives of the industry in terms of associations.
Claudio, maybe stop 1 second because we have a problem on the screen. Tu peux me parler en français là? Je vais le couper là et puis tu vas me dire si c'est via du micro. Allô? Oui, j'ai remis le son là. T'as toujours de l'écho là? Yannick? Ok. Là, je t'entends pas là, de toute façon, donc. Sorry, Claudio. Comment? Okay, Claudio, can you speak again? No, stop, because we are not solving the question, the issue. Yannick, are you able to speak? Yannick? Yeah, so no, Yannick is not useful. It's for Claudio. Claudio, do you hear us?
Is it okay?
Not yet. So we have your screen. Yes, it's coming. Okay, it's perfect. Okay, you can start again. Where you
Okay.
On your slide. So the voice is okay and the screen is okay.
Perfect, fantastic. So thank you, and yeah, sorry for the troubles. I hope that now everything is working. So what I was saying is that DigiPlace has been concluded in last year, so in May 2021, and it was a H2020 project. It was a coordination and support action with a specific objective, that is the one of develop and identify, so create this reference architecture framework for the digital industrial platform for the construction sector. As you can see here, when we started DigiPlace, we identified these in an objective that is the definition for that digital industrial platform, while in the title you already see that we are talking about digital platforms for construction sector, because this is one of the points that we will discuss in the presentation about the development of platform for construction sector. I have to say that one of the main results of DigiPlace was already the creation of partnership that we used in the development of the project. That is the one that you can see here. So the possibility to have around the table and to work together with the main association in the construction sector, with research center, with the university, with construction companies that were involved in the project with one objective, that is to create a common ground for the development of digital platforms for the construction sector, to understand what we should do to go in the right direction and to go in a coordinated direction for this point. Another result that was the second one, let's say, together with the reference architecture framework, is that in DigiPlace we developed a strategic roadmap for the implementation of the reference architecture framework, and this is one of the other results that we have. So if I have to summarize in the starting point, the three main core results that we can have in DigiPlace, we can have this creation of an ecosystem of stakeholders together with the partners and the other bodies that we created in the project, the creation of the reference architecture framework, and the development of the strategic roadmap for the application and the implementation of the reference architecture framework. Let's see to the structure that we have, because of course these are the main results, but a lot of research has been developed during the project. So as you can see here, the two work packages that we developed and identify as work package 3 and work package 4 were work packages dedicated to the identification of what are the level of implementation of digital technologies and practices in the construction sector, and what are the already existing solution, and what are the success points that we have in this solution, and not only in the construction sector, but in different sectors. And on the other side, in work package 4, identifying what are barriers and gaps in the construction sector, so that we can identify where are the issue and how we can solve this issue. And starting from these results, we have, as we said, work package 3, 5, and 6 that are the one about the development of the reference architecture framework, and the one about the development of the strategic roadmap. And you can see that also we worked a lot with a specific work package that was this work package 2 about the creation of this long-term community building. And this is about the identification of two bodies that worked together with the DigiPlace project. One is the advisory board of the DigiPlace project that was involved to check what are the results and to adjust our results. And on the other side, a stakeholder community that we created around the project with the objective of create a common consensus around the results of the project, because the idea was to create results that were in some way accepted already by the majority, let's say, of the stakeholder interested in the community. So here you can see with a more detail what are some of the main activities that we developed considered in these work packages. So you can see here, for example, in work package 3, what we have in terms of level of implementation, and the analysis that we developed that was a combined analysis to understand what also other sectors already have, and what are the success factors that we can bring in the construction sector to understand how we should develop these platforms, considering, of course, what are the constraints and the specific challenges that we have in construction sector, and how these results are combined then in the development of the reference architecture framework, so work package 5, and the strategic roadmap. And from here, what we identified in the work package 5, so in the development of the reference architecture framework, is that we started from 20 success factors that are the one that you can see here. So in the analysis that we had, we extracted these success factors that was used then to develop the basis for the reference architecture framework. And you can see one specific point, that is that we are not talking only about BIM, we are not talking only about models, information models, but the point is that when we start thinking about the development of digital platform for construction sector, we have to identify several points that should be addressed, considering, for example, security aspects, considering how the knowledge is shared at construction level, so at sector level, how the knowledge should be shared between the different organizations, and so on and so forth. So, of course, BIM is one of the core elements that we have in digitization, but on the other side, when we think about platform, we have to extend this view and integrate different aspects that should be integrated one to the other. And you can see here then how we developed the reference architecture framework. We worked with two main developments, let's say. On one side, we developed a first high-level specification document that is a document where we started identifying all the different topics and aspects, and in specific, we identified the key use cases that the platforms should address in some way. And on the other side, then the development of this reference architecture framework that should be intended as a set of guidelines that should be used for the future developments of platforms in the construction sector. And this is exactly what we developed in the project. You can see here one of the picture that represent the different aspects that we developed and that we presented in the reference architecture framework. And as you can see, we divide the different guidelines in specific areas, and you can see here areas related to the environmental performance, to the large-scale data sharing, business, market, and collaboration, and the one about public services. And you can see that from this area, we identified two main pillars that are the one that you can see here, so the interoperability, common language and processes, and the second pillar that is the one about control over the use of data. And you can see all the different aspects that are listed here have been then analyzed and are available in the document that we developed for the reference architecture framework. So what you can find in DigiPlace is that you can find a set of guidelines, a set of results that can be used to coordinate the development of the future platform. Another picture that personally I like is this one, because another point that we identified in the project is the one that I introduced in the first slides. That is the point that we moved from the idea of a specific platform, so one big platform for construction sector, to the identification of, let's say, a multi-level approach. That means that when we think about the development of platforms in the construction sector, we have to think about the scaling of these environments, considering the European level, of course, but also the local level, and how the different environments and platforms that will be developed in the construction sector can be connected one to each other, and how these platforms can share, for example, services, can share infrastructure, and how these can communicate one to each other to avoid creating data island between the different countries, data island between different projects, for example. So avoid creating silos that cannot talk one to each other. So the idea is that we should look at the coordination of these developments so that when we work together, when we work especially at European level, we can have a common ecosystem that can be shared between the different stakeholders and provide services, for example, for the small and medium enterprise that should be able to work and to collaborate in this type of environment. Last point that was an exercise that we developed in DigiPlace is about this idea of perimeter for the future public platforms. And you can see also here different areas that we identified. Of course, one area is this one about these BIM and collaboration services. Okay, so we can integrate this part, but of course, when we think about these platforms for the public sector, so public platforms, we have to integrate what are the different topics that are, for example, how we can use this platform to access to public services, and how these platforms are combined, for example, to the existing one that already exist in the different countries about the other services that have been developed in the digitally. And the other topic is the one about the access to knowledge, because what we integrated in the project is that the platform should be used not only for specific services, but also to promote the sharing of the knowledge in the sector. So promoting the accessibility to the data, for example, the accessibility to the standard, share the data dictionary, construction rules, so facilitate the accessibility to the data that many times today are dispersed in several platforms, in several environments, and cannot be easily accessed by the stakeholders that are interested to this topic. So this is all from my side. I have to say that according to the scope of the project, all the results of DigiPlace are completely accessible. So every main deliverable is public. So I think that as soon as we complete the process from the European Commission of approving the ending of the project and all the bureaucracy around this, you can access all the documents that we developed in the project and use the reference architecture framework, strategy roadmap, the results of the analysis that we developed, and everything that has been delivered in the project. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Claudio. Very, very sorry for the technical problem.
That's fine.
So I think that just one word before to move to the next presentation, the last one for this session. I think that that is really something done with DigiPlace to be taken into account on the European project called Gaia-X will be introduced on the next one. I think it's very important to know that, and it's a message for the people working on Gaia-X. One remark in line with the discussion we had with the Estonian presentation, that one of the key aspects is still missing in DigiPlace is the question of the contractual issue regarding the common platform between private and public company, and that is, I already say that as participating to this project, that the question of the contractual management is fully outside the scope and has to be introduced if we want to be able to deploy what it is mentioned in DigiPlace, which is really a key element for the construction industry to be able to have technical specification for collaborative platform like a common data environment. But I mean, that is still to be rediscussed in your introduction maybe on this afternoon. So thank you very much, Claudio. I think we have no more time for any question. And Marine, if you are online, it could be great to hear you and to see you and to have your presentation. Marine?
And I have shared my presentation as well.
Yes, you can. If you are able to share, could be great. Because the good news is we have your voice.
Okay, but you should have also the slides.
Not yet. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Yes, we have your slide. So if you want to start.
Okay.
Yes, it's great.
Thank you.
So you're lucky. A full success from the very beginning.
Very lucky.
Thank you very much, Marine.
Thank you, Christophe. So good morning, everybody, and thanks a lot for your invitation. I'm pleased to present Gaia-X and the upfront Gaia-X. So far, there is no working group for the construction industry working on how to benefit from data sharing in such an ecosystem like Gaia-X. And I am convinced that Gaia-X represents an opportunity for the infrastructure and construction industry. So I am Marine de Sury, Mission Director in SIGREF. So SIGREF is a French association created in 1970 to develop its members' ability to assimilate and master digital technology. There are more than 150 private and public members across all business sectors, and some of them are in the construction industry. So, and today I'm here as the coordinator of the French Gaia-X Hub, as SIGREF has been involved in the construction of Gaia-X since the beginning of the cooperation in November 2019, to represent the interests of digital services user companies and meet their needs. So let's share an observation. In fact, today Europe has data that have been little used until now. Why? Because there were no answer which meet user and data producers' needs. And GaiaX is a private and European initiative whose ambition is to promote the free circulation of data within a trusted and secure digital ecosystem. So after the free movement of goods, people and capital, the free movement of data is one of the fundamental factors of the European growth for the next decades. The objective of GaiaX is to liberate data by proposing an infrastructure and architecture framework for the control and secure flow of data based on the following key foundations: interoperability of clouds, transparency of contracts, openness to competition, trust, reversibility of infrastructures, portability of application and services, and energy efficiency. So GaiaX is originally a Franco-German and now a European initiative that has led to the emergence of an international non-profit association, which is called GaiaX European Association for Data and Cloud, privately created by its 22 French and German founding members. So GaiaX has two ambitions. The first one is to establish a framework of trust, respectful of European values and legislations, and therefore to translate technically these values into policy rules, labels, and architecture framework. So, I mean, with European values, what I listed before, that is to say, transparency of contracts, data protection, portability, reversibility, interoperability, trust, and energy efficiency. And the second ambition of GaiaX is to enable services and use cases to emerge in a trusted framework in an open digital ecosystem in which data can be made available, collected, pooled, and shared in a secure and trusted manners that provide analytical, computational, and AI capabilities and fosters innovation. So now let's look at the keys of GaiaX to have a better understanding of how does GaiaX work. So GaiaX is composed of data ecosystem, infrastructure ecosystem, and federated services. And this collaborative infrastructure in the form of a network consists of three architectural layers that are interconnected. So firstly, an infrastructure base in which the offer, the pink one, in which the offers of the various suppliers will be connected. And so they will be interoperable and interconnected. And this infrastructure hosts federated services such as identification, trust. This is the green part. And the GaiaX federated services are cornerstones for implementing the GaiaX collaborative ecosystem. And this basis is necessary to offer stakeholders from different sectors the possibility to collaborate and share data in a secure and trusted environment. This is the blue part, and we can see some data spaces highlighted by the European Commission. And that is why I said at the beginning that GaiaX represents an opportunity to enhance the value within the construction ecosystem. So how to participate to GaiaX? There are three ways to become, by becoming an association member. So there are now, I think, 330 members. To become an active member of the GaiaX open source community, the federated services will be open source. And or the third possibility is to contribute to the data space construction via the Gaia-X hubs. And just to give you an idea about the hubs, there are about 20 hubs in Europe. So the main objective of Gaia-X, of the Hub Funds Gaia-X, is to incubate European data spaces with a significant impact on the national and European economy. So we have seen that Gaia-X aims to bring out services and use cases in a framework of trust, and the French Gaia-X hubs contribute to this at the national level by bringing together stakeholders from sectors or activity, and by structuring meetings, exchanges, and working groups, within working groups. So if we have a quick look at the Gaia-X hubs, the French Gaia-X hub, we can see that the French companies and the public administrations are convinced of the value of an ecosystem like Gaia-X. Indeed, about 600 participants from more than 300 companies, academies, research laboratories, and associations are working together in the hub fronts within 12 working groups, and 10 of them are already working at the European level to go from think tank to do tank. And so you have to understand that the Gaia-X hubs have the mission to ensure the dialogue with the other national hubs and with Gaia-X AISBL. So here you can see all the working group incubated by the hub fronts. So each working group identifies common interests, potential synergies, pain point to work on, and this translates into identifying use cases that make data an accelerator in the working group domain and an answer to their challenges and issues. And of course, so you can see that there is energy, aerospace industry, health, Green Deal, cultural and creative industry, smart manufacturing, agriculture, mobility, education and skills, finance, space, and sea working group. And of course, the Hub Funds is ready to help the infrastructure and construction industry to start the reflection at national level, to gain maturity and better understand what Gaia-X can bring to your sector. And the result of this first step is a position paper that is shared with the other working group in the European hubs and with Gaia-X. The idea is to reach a convergence of vision at the European level. So, but Pierre will give you a concrete example with the smart manufacturing. So, Pierre, I leave you the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Marine. Thank you also for displaying the slides. So I am Pierre Faure. I spent 35 years in the aerospace industry in a company called Dassault Aviation. But now I am retired, but I am still working, as you see, and I am president of the AFNET, which is the French e-business association, and which is has launched a big project which is called Atlas. I will speak a few words about that. And I was asked also to, with our partner Alliance Industrie du Futur, who is in charge in France of the smart manufacturing. Industrie du Futur is the French word for smart manufacturing or for Industry 4.0. And I was asked to coordinate this working group with a colleague of the CEA, which is the Commissariat à l'énergie atomique in France. So here on the slide, you have the list of all the, so it is just an example of the working groups that Marine presented you. It is the last one, the last but not the least, regarding on the topic of the smart manufacturing. So here you have all the companies that were involved in this working group at the French level. I will speak a few words about the European level because we are also working with the European level. You see a big amount of companies, with a lot of meetings, and we were still in the. Could you change the slide, please? Yes, we have produced as most of the working groups position paper. We are still in the think tank mode, and we have defined use cases, identify the priorities, etc. And now we are beginning to enter the do tank mode, which means launching projects with the priorities that we define together, which can be lead to collaborative platforms, to applications, etc., etc., either at French level or at European level. So here you have read what is written on the slide. I will not read exactly the same. You have all the use cases listed. So smart factoring, it is the inside the companies, in the plants of the companies. So automation and optimization of manufacturing operation, product tracking, predictive maintenance, for instance, also production process, etc., etc. And this working group is working for all the other working groups, because all the industrial sectors, automotive, aerospace, shipbuilding, etc., all need for their plants smart manufacturing. There is two dimensions: the companies that are producing the services for the companies of other sectors like aerospace or such kind of companies. Could you change the slide, Marine, please? Yes, just because we don't have many time, just some words about those projects. They are coming from two sources. First, from a new industrial sector in France, which is called SIF, Solutions Industrie du Futur, and some projects are coming on this in this sector, and the other projects are coming from the Atlas program that I am leading, and Christophe is an active member of Atlas program. In this Atlas program, all the industrial sectors are involved in France. The main topic is the digital continuity, the standards, but we are also building PROCs, etc. And we have means that are provided. It is not a huge program. It is only 10 million euros over 3 years, but coming half by the industrial sector, half by the French government. And we are co-funding a project coming from Gaia-X, for instance, and that is the case in this topic, because some of the Gaia-X project will be co-funded also by Atlas, either in the smart manufacturing domain, but also, for instance, in the circular economy, Green Deal project. It is another working group of Gaia-X, and we have identified a project that will be co-funded by ENGIE, which is a French industrial company, and Atlas. And regarding the cooperation with Germany and Italy, it was already existing since many years between l'Alliance Industrie du Futur and the Germans and the Italians, and we are working again, but more broadly than only smart manufacturing, because we are speaking of Catena X. Maybe you heard of this big project of the German automotive industry and other projects. Okay.
Thank you, Pierre, for explaining that. Just for the people on the room, the connection with your presentation and we have done here, the two projects coming from funding by Atlas was introduced here. The first one was for this morning regarding the geotechnical approach. It was explained by Richard Petrie and Scott Simpson on the opening session. It's important because it's a way to make the link with the other industry, not only the construction. In this case, it was the mines for the mines industry. And the second one introduced several times regarding the data dictionary, which is funding with Atlas, because it's also a way not only for the construction industry, but to make the link with the manufacturing system industry, to have a common semantics base to exchange the information with the sensors, with the sensor on site, with the IoT, and that is important to underline that. And Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Keywording for the presentation of Marine is the question of cloud computing and reversibility of the information. Because until now, under the process by the software vendor with the cloud computing, there is no reversibility of the information. When I say information, is data, is simple, but what is less simple is the metadata. And at the moment, there is no reversibility of this information based on the cloud computing developing by the software vendors and by the GAFAM. And it's really important for us because the question of metadata is the contract management, which is the more important thing in the construction industry, is how to be paid. Thank you very much for everybody. Thank you for your participation. Very sorry for the technical trouble. We try to do our best, but you know the hybrid presentation is really a challenge, and sometimes we failed, and sometimes it's working, but sorry for that. Thank you very much, and see you for the closing session this afternoon. Bye-bye.